All right, today we're going to continue our discussion on Chapter 4. And just as a note, as far as due dates that are approaching, we have Monday is our assignment due dates. So I will give some time today to work on your CNOW if you'd like. We're scheduled to do our exam on Wednesday the 13th, which is before our spring break. So that'll give us a good breaking point also for the course. And when we come back, we'll be going to Chapter 6 at that point. So I think it's very doable. We're right on schedule, so we should have no problems hitting those times or dates. If you have questions on your homework, don't be afraid to ask or email me those questions, especially when you get to the project. If you're struggling with that, please let me know. I know I kid around that I get paid by the email or question, but seriously, this is your opportunity to understand and learn the material before you graduate, obviously. All right, so I want to start just to kind of get us back in the groove again with problem or exercise 40 on page 198. And the scope of Chapter 4 has us do our job cost reports. And in addition to that, we want to understand how this predetermined overhead rate works and what it's used for. So in this particular case, we're going to be using departmental rates. In most cases, if not all, most manufacturers will have more than just one rate. So this is, again, trying to understand how that rate works. The goal is to be as accurate as we can with our overhead application, and then also understand the flow of cost from work in process, basically, to finished goods to cost of goods sold. So if we can, let's start at 198, problem 40. The assembly department has given us information to come up with a predetermined rate. What thing do we need to be watching for? What numbers do we need? And I think Tom said estimated. Yeah, estimated overhead, right? And then we also have to find somewhere an estimate. I'm going to call it a driver. Sometimes the author calls it an activity driver, some sort of way that we can track hours, time, dollar amount for a particular, in this case, department. So at the beginning, you see the word estimate, right? Mm-hmm. So in the assembly, we have an estimate of how much in dollars? For the assembly, what would be a good driver?
Labor hours.
Yeah, the labor hours, right, which is at 130. And Ruby, do you have that amount? What's the rate then?
130. Is it 130?
Yeah. Can you give me the rate?
Oh, you need the rate. Sorry.
That's all right.
$26%.
I think you went the wrong way.
It's $2.60.
Oh, $2.60?
Yeah.
I thought you said 26%.
I did.
Oh, it's on the,
It's just okay.
like that?
Yeah.
All right, good. And then we do the same thing for testing. And in the book says, in this case, that testing uses what for their driver?
Finishing hour.
machine hours. So, again, be careful that you're using the correct driver for that department. And I'm going to divide by the 120. Machine hours in this case, MH. Are we okay with this concept? Everything okay? What amount do I have here then? 5 1/4. Per machine hour. And I usually will put the driver next to the rate so that I don't, when I start looking at a job, I'm grabbing the right actual driver, right, when we get to that point.
That's a good idea.
All right. So I've got some computations. I've got some T accounts here. So in question 2, it says calculate the overhead applied to production in each department for the month of March. So the word is applied. If you want, put the word actual at that point. So I'm looking for actual numbers now that I'm going to use to apply my information. So for the assembly department, I'm going to take my rate. My rate was $2.60. Per direct labor hour. What am I multiplying that? What actual number do I need here?
11,700 hours.
11.7. Does that look good? Yes. Excellent. That's what we need. Actual direct labor hours. And Tom, what do I get there then?
30,420.
I'm just going to move that over slightly here. All right. Liz, can you help me with the testing? How do I get the applied amount?
$5 minus sums times 10,900.
And what do we get there, Liz?
5,725. 57,225. Sorry.
That's all right. I think that's what you ended up, 57,225. Okay. How come I didn't use the 3,450 or the 4,100 or the 15,150? They were just there for totals, basically, right? So not used at all. So you'll see that on your problems or the exam problems. They'll give you extra numbers that you don't even use. So keep watching for that. Okay, now I'm just going to pick this one. Can someone give me the journal entry for this amount? How does that work? What do I debit? What do I credit? Because part of this test will be journal entries, probably the most intensive. There's just in a lot of entries here. That's my journal entry to apply overhead. Debit with deposit, good. So I'm going to put that entry here, work in process. Inventory for 30,420. And what am I going to credit to Polly?
overhead control.
The overhead control, very good, excellent, perfect. For the 30,420, perfect, excellent. That's what I want you to start. For most of these, the material requisition, right? The labor incurred, you have to know all those entries, including the applied overhead entry. They do give us some actual numbers for each department, so let's put those in. So I have a T account for question 3. Where does the actual number go? On the left side or the right? The left, right?
Yes.
Or correct? And on the right side is the applied amount, which we determined for the assembly was 30,420. And for the testing department, 57,225 was the applied amount. And you can see the credit, right? The credit that DePauli mentioned, this 30,000 credit to overhead control, is the credit into the T account, right? So that looks perfect. So use your journal entry to help you remember which side of the T account that number goes upon. Now they did give us the actual numbers. In our case, for the assembly, 29,850. Michelle?
You want a difference there?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
570.
And then my next question, the exam will ask, is it over or under applied?
Over applied.
Over applied. Very good. Perfect. Here again, it's going to be multiple choice questions that'll have 570 over applied or 570 under. So take your time, be careful, make sure that we have that correct. Next we have the actual for testing. Walter, can you give me that difference?
Is it 58,000?
58,000, very good.
And the difference would be 757. And it's under 5. 775.
Yes, I think that's what I was looking for. Good.
It's under 5.
But under applied is correct. Very good. Excellent. Super. Okay. I guess I did have the journal entry here. I can just move that down, can't I? And it's not so messy. Terminology is a lot on this test too. Because this is new, right? The word applied overhead. All right. Our next journal entry is to close the overhead control. Who am I up to? Sam? How do I close this account, this 570? Or what does close mean? When you close an account?
You have to balance it out.
You want to make the balance what?
0.
0. Yeah, very good. So how do I make this control 0? It's on the credit side, so how do,
Debit it.
so you gotta debit it, right? Excellent. So I'm gonna debit this account. This is my closing entry. For 570. Let's assume this amount is immaterial. What does immaterial mean?
Small.
Small. You'll have to know that for the test, right? So if it's immaterial, what's the other side of the entry? Sam, do you know? Or do you want to use a lifeline here?
Yeah.
You want to use it? Austin, do you remember? Nope. Okay. Catherine, are you out there? I didn't hear her ping at me. Oh, there she is. Okay. I'm glad we're doing this. What account do we hit, guys? Catherine doesn't know either.
Cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold, right? Can someone tell me why we're crediting cost of goods sold? Well, one, it's immaterial, it's small. That's why we're crediting it. But what are we also trying to do in addition to closing this account? What are we trying to do for this cost of goods sold account? Make it an actual number, right? So the ideal here, or the concept here that we're trying to do is to make this, makes the cost of goods sold a real number, not an estimate. Remember, when we're debiting for this applied overhead, this is an estimate. That applied amount is an estimate. It's not a real number. Catherine asks, how do we know that this amount is immaterial? How small does the number need to be? And Catherine, there is no real answer to that, I'm afraid. It all depends on the company that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a small company or even a large company, $500 is not a lot of money. So that is always going to be considered immaterial. I would say anything below 10,000 would be considered immaterial. Anything above 10,000, unless you're a really big company, would be material. But that's, again, a general rule of thumb. It really does depend on the company that you're working for. For the test, you will always be told whether it's material or immaterial. Okay? Now, that brings up another point. So my question is, what if it were an immaterial or large amount? Now what?
You split it.
You split it.
Yeah.
You prorate it across which three now?
Work in process, cost of goods sold, and inventory, and raw material.
Not raw material.
Finish.
Finished goods.
Finished
Inventory. Why would it not be raw material inventory?
All because that doesn't show up on your income statement.
Why
No.
don't you?
When do we first apply overhead? At what point?
When we start making it,
When do we start making it? which is what account?
Those three.
It starts in WIP,
Yeah.
right? We don't start it in raw material, it starts in WIP. So we don't touch raw material on the correction. So that's why we're doing it that way.
You just split that 3 ways.
Yeah, it's actually a proration. So if I have 10,000 in WIP, let's just make it a total of 100. So 10% would go into WIP. And then if finished goods is 50,000 out of 100,000, then that would get 50% of the amount. So it's prorated, if that makes sense. A portion of the amount of the total of those three. In most cases, of the three, cost of goods sold is probably the largest one, so it will get a majority of the amount in most cases. All right, we good? Next. I got one more entry here, and this is not actually required, I don't think. I think I'm just doing this on my own. Record the actual overhead for the assembly. Now, that is a debit entry to manufacturing overhead control is the debit. And the amount for assembly, $29,850. So I'm just following what I did on the T account. I'm just following what I did on the T account. This is the actual overhead. Where's the word actual? Actual overhead entry. What goes into overhead, guys? This is a good review of chapter 2. What goes into overhead? What's the big one? Chapter 2. What goes into overhead? It's got to be production related. So what's in production that we would put here?
Salary.
Salaries payable. I agree. Because it's the credit side of things, right? So I'm debiting the overhead for the salary. I'm crediting salary payable. What's another one?
Utilities.
Utilities. Very good. Now, I don't know the amounts. I want you to know the names, basically. What's the big one? I still haven't seen the big one yet.
Labor hour?
Sales?
Depreciation.
Depreciation is the one. Why is it not sales?
You take money and
Yeah.
Sales is not production, right?
you
Sales
take
is
money.
admin, selling and admin. Good. So depreciation, Diane, you said depreciation, what's the account though?
What would the account be? Building or equipment? No?
Yep, that's true. But what's the credit?
Accumulated depreciation.
Yeah, who said that? Yes, good job, Michelle.
Oh.
I didn't want you to say depreciation expense. I would have had a heart attack. Right? In cost, we don't use the expense word, right? In most cases, unless it's selling and admin, then we do. So this is the credit side, and the debit is going into the control account, right? There also might be that small little stuff, supplies, right? Whatever we need to make our part glue, maybe some small screws that we don't track quantity on, that would be an indirect material, right? Which is overhead. All right, I think that's a good summation of what are some of the things. I think we also talked about real estate taxes on the building of the production facility, right? Those kind of things would also be part of this section of the actual overhead. One more thing that you'll be tested on regarding this closing entry. And I'm going to go all the way back up to this word over-applied and under-applied. The question is, what effect does it have on cost of goods sold? If I have an over-applied closing entry, in this case it was over-applied by 570, what effect does that have on cost of goods sold if it's over-applied, but the closing process?
Cost of goods sold will go down.
Cost of goods sold will go down if it's over-applied and I'm closing it. Just think about it. I put too much in, right? I put over amounts in, so I gotta back it down with a reduction. Again, critical that we know that. And obviously, if it's under-applied and I'm closing it, I'm crediting this on the closing side to get it to 0. What effect does that have on cost of goods sold? I'm going to debit it, so it's going to go up, right, with an under-applied closing entry. So if you can make a little cheat sheet on that also, that would be good. Good to do. I shouldn't say cheat sheet, I should say note on that. It's not cheating. Accountants don't like to use the word cheat, right? We say adjusting. Adjusting. Okay. Good deal. Now, I know we don't like to read the chapters in some cases, although it's fascinating material. I just want to point out some things, some terminology again. How do we get unit cost? Right? How do we get a cost per unit? Same thing, right? Unit cost or cost per unit means the same thing. It's dollar amount over units. It's very simple, but it says it's very hard to get, right? And look at a job order cost sheet. Please know what's on it. Please know what's on it. What's on it? What goes into a job order cost sheet? Well, the job name, the date range, right? What 3 items? Material, labor, applied overhead now, right?
Yep.
And you'll see that 1, 2, 3 here as well. Now, this is no different than what we started with in chapter 2. You sum up those 3, get a total, and then we come up with a cost per unit. Now, if the author wants me to mark it up 40% for a selling price, how do I do that? Times by what? 1.4? And that'll give me my selling price. So the markup was 40% markup. Please know how to determine that, right? Also know what's the journal entry. Now let's just say I sold one of these units. Let's just make it simple. What's my journal entry here to record the sale of 1 unit? Let's do the cost side of the entry first. Okay, what do I do here? What's my debit, what's my credit on the cost side?
Cost of goods sold.
Excellent. Is what, Teresa?
Debit.
Debit, excellent. How much?
$1.60.
1 unit times 116 is 116. Very good. And what do I credit?
Finished goods?
Yes. Excellent. Okay, good. Who wants to do the sales side? I'll switch colors here. Sam, can you see that way back there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to take the sales side? Sam? What do I debit, what do I credit? Just the account names. Let's say it's a sale on account. No?
So accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable, does that make sense? I would debit that, accounts receivable on account.
And the sales revenue.
Accounts receivable and credit sales, I guess, huh? How much though, Ruby? We multiply, it was a 40% markup. We never did figure out the selling price.
162.24.
But didn't come out very good, did it?
No.
160/40.
Oh, 140, yes. That's right, on my calculator.
40
cents.
Yes.
And 40 cents?
Yes.
Does that look right? So that's the amount I'm going to use, right? 162.40. Austin, does that make sense?
Yep.
Clear as mud?
Here's not.
You know, mud's not clear. You get, right?
Yes.
Just want to make sure. That's my line. I've been using it for 13 years. I can't find the better one. But I'm serious, though. I really want you to understand this. Not only now, but in the future, right? Right. Because your boss is going to ask you those same questions. What's the markup? What's the margin on this one part cell? What's the margin? If I ask you that question. What is meant by margin?
The difference.
The difference. Very good. So,
46/40.
how much?
46/40.
Isn't it exciting to know how much you make on every part you sell? Isn't that cool? Even every bag of popcorn, let's say you're a vendor and you're selling popcorn bags, wouldn't it be cool? Oh, there's $1. There's another $1 going, right? That's cool. Well, once I make $100, I'm clear on my rental of the popcorn machine, right? That's cool. The rest is my money. So, well, I shouldn't say that. The government takes 25%, and you get 75, maybe, if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do as accountants, is figure this out so that we can understand, and then how do I improve or reduce that number? That's the fascinating part. I'm at 116. How can I get it down to 115, 112? Not making $49, $50 per unit sold. That's, again, very important to know, because if I don't know what my cost is per unit, how can I improve it? Just the way it is. No, you can't do
Previous
that.
accounting had
That's
it.
not called managing. That's called take it on the chin once in a while, right? I was going to do something else and I got sidetracked, but I think I've covered a lot here at this point. Some more things I want to talk about. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. Oh, cool. This is cool. A job order cost sheet is really a WIP subsidiary of uncompleted jobs. Right? Work in process means what? It's not done. Correct?
Yes.
Uncompleted jobs. So, the balance in the work in process at the end of the month will total all the job order cost sheets for incomplete or uncompleted jobs. So on the test, if I look to this problem here, let's just assume, sorry guys. Let's assume this is our only job. And I only sold one, what do I have here? Backpack. That means out of 20, I have 19 left. The question on the test will be, what is the value of my work in process? Oh boy, put it right. January 31st. How would you do that? I only have the one job. I've got 20 backpacks. Oh, shoot. I'm in the wrong account. These backpacks are done.
Yeah.
Because I came up with the cost per unit, right?
Mhm.
So I gotta switch gears. Now I made everybody totally confused. I'm still looking for a value. But instead of with, I want finished goods inventory. Does everybody understand why I switched account names? These are completed. I'm assuming that these are completed 20 backpacks. So now I'm going to a different account, finished goods. How do I get it?
What do you start with? Your beginning balance minus what you,
Well, let's assume this is the only job.
okay. So
I've got 19 backpacks left. What do I do?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's all it is. That's all I was trying to get. How much is it?
2,204.
Where does this number appear on what statement then, Teresa?
Income statement. Or no,
Careful.
balance sheet.
Balance sheet, good save, right?
Cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold, 116 is on the income statement, along with the 162 for the sales, right? Those are all income statements. So not only know the entry, but also know what statement it's going to be on, right? All right. So, but getting back to what I was talking about before, work in process is unfinished work. So that's why I had to switch gears there. Unfinished work. And then, again, reported on the balance sheet, right? Material requisition. What's the journal entry? Here's my dollar amount, 30 bucks. What do I debit? What do I credit?
Material and cash.
I'm requesting it to go into where?
To each of the job.
To each job. Okay, so what account do I debit then?
Probably with. Certain with to go to each of the work in process job.
Yes. So material requisition by job number for $30 is debited, right? What is the credit then? Where is it coming out of?
Raw material.
That's when it's coming out of the raw materials inventory. Okay. Now I have direct materials, and then I also have indirect materials. Which entry is this? Which one is it for? Is this a direct material or an indirect?
Correct.
Direct.
Why is it direct? That's correct. Why is it direct?
Because the title says so.
Where does it say that?
The cost of
Direct
direct
materials.
It's
Okay.
used as part of the
So that's
production.
embarrassing. What?
It's used as part of the product, the buckles, right?
What makes a material direct? It's buckles, yeah.
You use that material to actually make the product.
Yes, but what makes it direct? Because I use material to make it, it could be indirect, too, right? What makes it direct?
Oh, it's gonna be the product when it's finished good.
Still not feeling the love here yet. What's the definition of direct? It's easily
Found.
Oh,
traceable or found, yeah. It's gotta be big, basically, right? Now, this is buckles. Can I see a buckle on a briefcase? Yep. There's probably just one or two. I'm looking at the hinges on a briefcase. Easily identified, quantified, traceable. That's what makes it direct. How about the glue? We have a 55-gallon drum. And we put some glue on it, squirt it on, go on to the next briefcase. What's the glue called then? Indirect, because I can't easily measure the amount. Is it still a cost to make that briefcase? Yep. So when I buy the 55-gallon drum of glue, where does it go? What account? You said overhead. Very good, yes. Remember, we made that journal entry to record the actual overhead? Oh my gosh, where is it, guys? Right? That's where it goes. That drum goes into the manufacturing overhead control. Right? That's the difference I want you to know. Okay, good job. What comes after material?
labor.
What's my journal entry to record? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to do some adding here. 36, 72, 144. What's my journal entry to record this labor time ticket? What do I debit? And please don't say wages. What do I debit?
Manufacturer overhead.
No. This is direct.
Oh, direct.
So then it would be,
Salaries.
these are hourly employees. Ed's an hourly dude. He's putting the briefcase together. I think he's in the assembly, or they don't say. What do I debit, guys? No, not for direct. Where did I go with my materials?
Yes.
Work in process inventory. Oh, 144. Where did I get 115 from?
Not sure.
I'm not sure either. Okay, and then what do I credit? Now we can put wages here. What do you think? Now, does it say the word direct on here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why is it only the direct that gets to WIP? That's our cost of goods sold, right? That's our cost per unit. That's the only way it's there. What about Yi, who is our maintenance person that works on the machines? We pay Yi, what's the journal entry there?
Overhead.
That's when we use the overhead. Why is it now overhead instead of WIP? He's indirectly related to the production cycle. And can I actually trace him easily to the part? No, there's no way. So at that point, if we have indirect labor wages, again, maintenance, the journal entry, like Michelle said, I'm going to debit manufacturing overhead control. And the same credit will be to wages payable. That's it. That's again for indirect labor. So the book talks about these time tickets are used for direct labor only. And that's why they're doing it that way. Okay. This screen, and I think I'm going to end here for today. This is on page 164. The bottom of page 164. And the reason I'm here, what does a subsidiary account mean?
It's under like a bigger account.
It's under a bigger
Yeah.
account. So our control account is here, right? What's another example of a control with subsidiaries in it from your intermediate class?
Other business that you own.
Not necessarily, more simple. On the balance sheet. What's on the balance sheet that has subsidiaries to it?
Depreciation, depreciation.
Okay, much more.
Wouldn't it be more your expense?
No. Accounts receivable, right?
Yeah.
Has customers as their subsidiaries.
Oh.
Accounts payable, vendors, right?
Right.
Has subsidiaries that make up that total. Well, the WIP is the same thing. The job order cost sheets of unfinished jobs is a subsidiary to the WIP control account, which does appear in my inventory, right? On the balance sheet. Just like AR does, accounts receivable, just like accounts payable does. We could also have that same thing for finished goods, right? That's where your LIFO, FIFO, and weighted average comes in.
Yeah.
Once it's completed, it starts a new layer. So you could have a listing of all your finished goods sitting in inventory. And then eventually when it's sold, it gets to the cost of goods sold based on our inventory costing method. That's what you got tested on, right? In intermediate? Okay. And I think it does a nice job showing what's on the balance sheet, what's on the income statement as well. All right. Please Guys, remember, we are not doing in chapter 4 the appendix B. We're only doing appendix A. And they do a review of the journal entries, the flow of this using Excel. Again, you could use Excel, but it's be pretty tough to track our costing under Excel unless you're a small company. I'm not sure if this is helpful, so I would say if you want to read it, you certainly can. They're using $4 as their applied rate. So I'm just going to briefly just go through these. I think I'm going to stop here, but what I did want to show you, in my notes for today, I'll have all the journal entries required, and that's in the Appendix A. So that Appendix A is on page 173. I'm hoping for 100% accuracy on the journal entries for the exam. I think with this, the notes that you have for this, we've covered the journal entries. If you're struggling with the journal entries, let me know. I'm looking for 100% accuracy on here. So that's my goal anyway. So just review those and let me know if you have any questions on any of these journal entries. Again, they're on page 173 and 174. For the most part, the toughest one for students is the sale entry, which is number 7 on page 174. I am going to stop at this point. Does anybody have any questions at this point? What we'll do on Monday then is finish the review. I'm going to go through some more examples on some problems. If you feel that you're comfortable where you're sitting, you certainly don't have to come. You can collaborate if you wish. Does everybody know how to get through Collaborate? Rather than making a trip in, if you want to, you may want to decide to collaborate. You'll have time on Monday also to work on CNOW and complete that up. If you are still not done yet, I know a lot of you are quite far along already. But if you have or need some more time, I can give you that as well on Monday. So Monday is an optional day. I'm not supposed to use the word optional because then students don't come. But we're all adults. If you want to come, please do so. Like I said, we are having class. It's not that I'm not having class, but it's just going to be more of a review. Okay.
What did you mention about Appendix 4B?
4B we are not doing.
We don't have to know it?
You don't have to know anything on 4B. Page 176, 77, all the way up through 181, basically. That's all skipped. No Appendix B.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's, again, more in depth than we need to get to. I think we've got enough to do. Catherine, are you okay out there? Any questions? All right, please email me if you do have any questions. The rest of the class is yours to do, whichever, what you want to do. Thank you.